What's up YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for Fight Night's Machida versus Dollaway. Start at the bottom. First we got Vitor Miranda versus Jake Collard, or Collar. If memory serves me right, I think Jake Collar is the guy that got knocked out by I forget who, but I'm pretty sure he got knocked down in his last fight. And Vitor Miranda is the really good kickboxer who lost the tough finale for Brazil. I think he's just a little undersized, and that's why he got overwhelmed by a bigger, stronger wrestler in Carlos. But I think in this fight, his striking and the size difference won't be as bad as it was at 205, so I think Vitor is going to win by knockout. I don't know when, but I just think his superior striking and the fact that there's no size disadvantage going into this fight is really going to help him out. Next we got Marco Alexander versus Tim Means, and I'm pretty sure Alexander is the guy from the Ultimate Fighter that lost to Warley. I think that his style just takes a lot of energy because it's a lot of movement, and I think once he starts to slow down, Tim Means is going to start catching him, and I think Tim Means is just going to, his style doesn't require as much movement, and he's got a lot of power no matter what weight class he's at, whether it's welterweight or 155. And I think Alexander might win the first 2 rounds, but then come the third, he won't be able to kind of move as well. And I think in the third, Tim Means is going to catch him and knock him out. Next, on to the prelims on Fox Sports 1, we got Yuta Sasaki versus Leonardo Issa. To me, this one, I think Yuta is going to win by submission. I think he's just the better grappler. They're both kind of grapplers. I think his striking is also decent too. I just see Sasaki, throwing some strikes, taking the back just like he did against Roland Delorme and winning by rear naked choke. My guess is first round submission. Next we got Darren Elkins versus Hakron Diaz. And Hakron Diaz hasn't looked very good against high level wrestlers. He won that fight against Yuri Alcantara, but that's because he's a decent wrestler and Yuri Alcantara is not a good wrestler at all. So when he fights the really good wrestlers though, like, I think, who was it that he lost to? I think it was I know he lost to Ricardo Lamas by decision, and I know somebody else too. And I think Darren Elkins is just going to be able to force him up against the fence and grind out a unanimous 30-27 decision win like his last fight. I think this fight's going to be boring, but I think Darren Elkins is going to win by decision. Next we got Tom Ninamaki versus Ronto Sernario. And I know this is a last minute change. It was supposed to be Hani Jason versus Tom Ninamaki, and I think this is just a fight for Ninamaki to win because, he's from like Finland, and when you get those fighters from nowhere countries in Europe or nowhere countries anywhere, they want to keep them around just to build fan base in those areas. So my guess is Ninamaki's going to win, TKO or submission. I think the fact that this guy's taking the fight on such late notice is just going to make it easier for Ninamaki. Next we got Roger De Lima versus Igor Pekryjaks. I don't know about De Lima. I think he was on the Ultimate Fighter, but I honestly can't remember. I think Igor's going to win this fight. I think that his striking and his overall ground game are going to get him through this one. You never know. Igor could be too old and too slow by now, but I think he's still got a little bit left in him, so I'm going to pick Igor. On the main card, we got Daniel Sarafian versus Antonio Dos Santos Jr. And I don't know much about Dos Santos Jr. Once again, this is another really close late replacement. I think this guy took this fight like a week out. It was supposed to be Dan Miller versus Daniel Sarafian, and I think Sarafian's just going to run through this guy. I think that's too short of a time, and Daniel Sarafian, I thought he probably was going to win against Miller. I thought that fight was a lot closer though, but you get a week to prepare for a guy like Daniel, and Daniel's probably just going to run through this guy. Next we got Eric Silva versus Mike Rhodes. I think Eric Silva's going to win, but if Mike Rhodes comes in with a really good game plan, he could make the upset. I think Mike Rhodes can fight consistently for 3 rounds. I don't think he's the greatest fighter of all time, but he sets a good pace, and he can keep whatever pace that he's going for the 3 rounds. And Eric Silva can't. So if he could get past the first round, I think he could get the upset, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think Eric Silva's going to do something, take the back, and get the first round rear naked choke, something like that. Next, we got Elijah Silverio versus Rashad Magomedov, and I think Silverio's just I don't think Rashad Magomedov has the movement or the speed to keep up with Silverio. I think Silverio is just gonna I think he's just gonna be quicker, and he's just gonna have more weapons to attack Rashad with, and or Rashid, and I think Silverio is gonna win this one either by decision or late submission. Next, we got Antonio Carlos Jr., the guy who won the Ultimate Fighter Brazil for the light heavyweights, versus Patrick Cummings. This is really interesting just because I think Silvio's a better fighter, but sometimes guys that have as good a wrestling as Pat does, they can just, they can just grind out wins against better fighters. I do think Carlos has the better striking, the better jiu-jitsu, and I think he has decent wrestling, and he's perfect for this weight class. He looks like he's normal size, but I'm gonna pick Carlos more so because I want him to win. I think he's the more exciting prospect, but you never know. I mean, Patrick could just take him down over and over again and grind out a decision win. But hopefully Carlos's wrestling defense is really good, and he'll win by TKO, maybe late in the third, late in the second, early in the third. Next, we got Renan Barão versus Mitch Gagnon. I think Mitch can win this if he really goes after Barão really hard, fast in the first round, like he does sometimes. I think he's got the striking and jiu-jitsu game to get it done. Barão, it all depends. I mean, I know he missed weight for his last fight and he passed out, and this fight's really going to be the telltale, because it could be that he's too old now, and his body might just be too big to cut down to 35 now healthily, just like it was with Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson's clearly one of the best guys in the world at whatever weight class he fights at, but he's got to be healthy. And when he was fighting at 170, he just couldn't do it after a while. And that might be what's happening with Barão right now. I know he's only like 20-something, so he might be at that point in his life where he just can't make 35 and fight at 100%. And if that's the case, then I think Mitch can win. If it was just a bad cut, then Barão's going to win this easy. He's just going to run through him. But like I said, this is going to be the telltale right here. If that was the real indicator, and he comes in this fight weighing like 137, I think Mitch might pull the upset. So, this one's really hard to call because it could have just been a bad weight cut, the last one, and he could be fine. He weighs in at 136 or whatever, and he just frickin' lays Mitch out, or he barely makes it and he looks like he's dying. I'm gonna pick Mitch just because I do think Barão is getting too big, but like I said, this is the hardest fight to call this because, I have no idea what Barão's gonna look like coming in. If he looks great at the weigh-ins and he makes weight easy, then it was just a bad weight cut last time. If he looks like shit, then, I don't think he's gonna win. Next, we got CB Dollaway versus Lyoto Machida. I think CB has a lot of things that can cause Machida problems, but I don't think he's gonna win. I think this fight's gonna be a lot like what happened with Bader. I think CB's gonna cause Machida some problems, but I think sooner or later he's gonna run into like a right cross or something and get knocked out. I think Machida's just a little. I think he's top 5, Dollaway's top 10, and that's probably how they're gonna be for the rest of their careers, So I'm gonna pick Machida. I think 3rd round knockout. I think sooner or later CB's gonna run into a counter and just get knocked out. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.